Game hacking Parasite Eve 2. The difficulty variable. After months of experimenting, I found the setting that controls a variety of in-game settings, the difficulty variable. Through this setting, I was able to change my initial stats when starting the game, shop inventory throughout the game, encounter settings throughout the game, and more. For those new to the game, Parasite Eve 2 has 5 different difficulty settings. Initially, you can only access normal mode. Once you beat the game, you can select different difficulties based on your prior gameplay. When you beat the game enough times on the right difficulties, all 4 difficulty settings can be accessed. The 4 difficulty settings for replay games are Replay Mode, Bounty Mode, Scavenger Mode, and Nightmare Mode. You can learn more about each mode in the link in the description. The way the game works is that each replay mode has a unique value. When you start the game in that mode, the game sets a variable to set the game into that mode. It will affect your initial HP, MP, BP, and XP. It also affects the shop inventory, damage you take, damage you give, the monsters you face, and other variables in the game. You can change this variable with the use of memory editors such as CW Cheat or Cheat Engine. With this said, I must warn you that if you change this variable mid-game, undesirable results may happen. For example, you can make a boss battle have Nightmare Mode difficulty, which can kill you quickly even with 250 HP. When you start the game will set this variable at either 0, 1, 2, or 3. Value 0 represents normal and replay mode. Value 1 represents bounty mode. Value 2 represents scavenger mode. Value 3 represents nightmare mode. This variable value then calls upon other code in the game to set your initial HP, initial MP, initial XP, and initial BP. Once you leave the shooting gallery, these values will not change by this variable for the rest of the game. During the game will read the code based on certain actions and triggers. If you open a shop window, it will read the value and set the shop inventory for that session. If you enter a battle, it will set the monster stats, item drops, and game mechanics for that battle. At certain points of the game, it will activate a set of battle encounters or the items that can be found based on the value. At a point after beating the final boss, it reads the value to set the game bonus. At each point, once read, it cannot be changed until the next trigger to read the code. There is one exception to this. HP and MP are also triggered by the shooting gallery door on both sides. If you change this value and enter this door, you will have a change in these two values. There may be other exceptions that I have not found yet. What can you do with this variable? You can use it to manipulate your gameplay. The options are endless. You can start on Nightmare game using replay mode initial stats and items by changing your replay mode game to Nightmare when arriving to Acropolis Tower. You can play a replay game using the Nightmare mode initial stats and then change it to replay mode right after the shooting gallery. You can play a replay game with bounty mode monsters and on Nightmare mode bonus by changing the value at the right time. In summary, This variable can customize your gameplay by changing it throughout the game. If you want to see this variable in action, I will post in the description field a video link where you can watch this variable change in action.